Well, the Cleveland Browns, they started off slow on Friday night, but they did get back into it. Some good things we saw, some bad things we saw. Deshaun Watson had his first opportunity to get out there, get his feet wet. We had a starter go down, but we had some young rookies that we predicted in the pregame that came through and did their thing. We'll talk about it all next on the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things dog pound, LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. As we said, first preseason game, and I tell you what, if you were around on social media, you saw a different vibe tonight. Browns fans anticipating, waiting for this day where we can just talk about Cleveland Browns football. We're going to get into all that and more on your Locked On Browns postgame show. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Your host, Garrett Bush, at GBush91. Both of us appreciate all of you for making Locked On Browns your first listen day in, day out. Whether it is on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you're following, subscribed, leave those 5-star ratings and written reviews. And, of course, now on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You got your notifications turned on so you get all the information at you as quickly as it comes. It was started slow, as Garrett said. I think everybody was anticipating, Deshaun Watson. What were we going to see? You saw some rust. You certainly saw some rust. Fumbled snap that led to a tackle for loss. Overshot Anthony Schwartz. Anthony Schwartz then in turn with a couple of drops. Certainly something that nobody is looking for here. And hate to start on negatives, and maybe we'll build this up towards some positives because it was a positive day for the Cleveland Browns. Donovan Peoples-Jones. Now this is another one. We talked about this in the pregame show. A holding penalty, got beat by a blitz, which led to the D'Ernest Johnson fumble. Not good. David Bell, we didn't get to see much of David Bell at all. But these, were some things that we kind of highlighted that you wanted to see here as far as the way this is going to work for the Browns today. For Deshaun Watson, look, it's been 20 months. It's been like 550-something days since he's taken the live NFL rep. You had to understand there was going to be some of this. But again, as we build this up, there were superlatives. And, for Deshaun Watson, you can understand that rust was maybe part of it. One thing we talked about here and we highlighted on the pregame show was, Nick Harris. And for right now, I think everybody's got a little bit nervous for where Nick Harris is at. Went down early, second snap, got carted off. Something you never want to see for any player, obviously. I kind of jokingly, but maybe not jokingly, put out the tweet. Can we get JC Treader on line 2? You don't want to do this to Nick Harris. Obviously, he's been a model soldier. He put in his time to get this opportunity. But if it turns out to be a serious thing, this is something the Browns got to consider. And we've talked a ton about the potential, Garrett, of this team as far as the way this roster is constructed. And you saw this as this game went on. This team was down early, 13-0. And again, we'll get to that, but they were down 13-0. And granted, there wasn't, Amari Cooper wasn't out there, Nick Chubb wasn't out there, Kareem Hunt wasn't out there. But we got to see our first taste of Deshaun Watson in the Cleveland Browns uniform. And this kind of happens, you think Deshaun probably wanted to go the first drive. He wanted to go 7-7 for 80 yards and a touchdown. Sometimes everybody's going to get reined back a little bit, short steps, lead to a greater outcome. So it started slow for this team, and it's probably understandable, from that aspect. But I think the biggest takeaway from this is, Anthony Schwartz's 2 drops certainly caused some pause and hesitation. And right now, everybody's probably got their fingers crossed for Nick Harris.
Well, when you see Nick Harris go down, that was a tough one because it wasn't necessarily a contact injury. It was more of a, saying he was getting bull rushed a little bit. And he went to reset himself, try to hunker down and try to take that bull rush to get himself out of that block a little bit. And you can see the back leg give out on him. And that's just, that's something right there where, I've had 2 torn ACLs. One was contact, one was non-contact. I know exactly what they look like. I don't want to speculate. I'm not a doctor or anything, but anytime that you get a lineman going down without any contact below the lower waist, that's something that we're looking at as possibly an ACL tear. And he's put in so much work. Guy that was working for this position, put on 20 pounds in off season, put on some muscle, and this is his first opportunity to get out there and play, and this happens. So I will say this though, I mean, you wouldn't have joking. The Browns might need to be talking to JC Tretter ASAP, right? Like today. I mean, he's out there, and the great thing about it is, and this always just goes to show you, you never know when you need that money. You never know when you need that cap room, bro. You know what I'm saying? If the Browns wasn't, Andrew Berry need to get, because listen, this is the thing that they're gonna see. We got to get that guy back in here, and it'd be great to see if we can get JC Tretter back in. I don't know how much money he wants, but that's a call I guarantee the Browns front office making. To the Deshaun Watson situation, I thought he was like what 1 of 5 and 1 of 5, and really he overshot Anthony Schwartz on that one little crossing route. And it's just, when you haven't played in that long, that's what it's gonna look like. When you haven't played, you just being out there. Practice is different. And trust and believe that the Browns are running vanilla stuff. They weren't running anything crazy. It's just these are just regular old boots and regular zone plays and stuff like that. So I'm not alarmed by anything with Deshaun Watson. I was just interested to see how he was going to take it out there. A lot of guys coming up to him, congratulating him, just saying, "Hey man, good seeing you back out here." I thought he was, really, for a guy that doesn't say anything, I thought he was amped up, right? I thought he was amped up. I thought he threw the ball one time and Anthony Schwartz dropped the ball. He's like, he just
absolutely
like, man,
rolling to the right sideline, like, man, we need it. Even though there was a penalty on the play, needed it, had to have it.
Right. He wanted to see it, and so that's one of the things that he'll get in and watch the film or whatever, and that's why you get him playing time in the preseason, right? And then the Anthony Schwartz thing. So, man, I really hate to harp on the young kid. I really hate to, but he has to lock in. He has to lock in, and he has to lock in tough. Because, when I'm looking at it, I know they got him out real quick with the ones and then leave him out there for too long. I'm sitting here saying, like, to me, the Donovan Peoples-Jones thing and the Anthony Schwartz thing are a little bit alarming, because I feel like this team, they got to have those guys playing well. I mean, there's no ways about it. Like, if the Browns want to be a consistent, solid team and able to throw the ball, I always laughed and joked and said, man, I don't know how I feel about Anthony Schwartz getting off press coverage, getting off man coverage, and then putting his foot in the ground, running a slant, catching the ball and taking a hit, and having everything work out for a first down, 3rd and 7. Today, it didn't look like he was the guy that could do that. It's between the routes, it's between the catching the football, and all the above letter D. I don't know if he's going to be a guy that can run that type of offense, or is he going to be a gadget guy? But I thought you brought up another great point. Donovan Peoples-Jones got beat on the block, couldn't get, he was supposed to have a crack block on a certain play, couldn't get down there to block, had a penalty as well. The Browns have to look at this and say, all right, look, we don't give them another shot. But I can't expect them to look great with Jacoby Brissett and look like they're going to be world beaters if they're not doing it right now in preseason. They got to start off. They got to get it going, or the Browns have to look somewhere else to get some guys in here that can do the job.
There were some guys, and we're going to bring up a name a little bit later in this episode, who gave, maybe a little bit more solid effort. But for, both of these guys, and we highlighted this in the pregame show, the emphasis of what these young wide receivers had to do. Blocking, it's paramount, man. It's simple stuff. Catching the ball, that's paramount. These guys, you can't dig the hole yourselves. You're already in the hole. Don't make it any deeper. And it's a difficult spot for this team to be in. And, look, and we saw the potential of this team as this game went on. And this was after Deshaun Watson exited this game. This is a deep roster. This team still has deep, deep expectations for what they can do this year. And if you can't do the little things, it's certainly going to create the thought process of bringing somebody in here into the room who can. And I don't want to see it for Donovan Peoples-Jones. I don't want to see it for Anthony Schwartz. But, you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day to be successful. Nick Harris, obviously, prayers are out, thoughts are up. But if it turns out to be something, that's serious, that's call. It's got to be made. You got to ring J.C. Treader and say, hey, we did what we had to do. It's not worked out for you, but can we maybe make this, work out and go further? I mean, hey, Wyatt's still here. Joel's still here. You're close with all the boys. The best thing for you is you ain't got to come in. You just got to get yourself in shape. You ain't got to practice. You ain't got to learn a playbook. You good to go. So we'll see how this all works out. And obviously thoughts for Nick Harris certainly did not look promising. We're going to kick it in here to where this game picked up. If you all heard the pregame show, Garrett Bush had somebody he was highlighting today. That young man had himself a day in his first showing as a Cleveland Brown.
Yes,
we're going to get to that here as we kick in it further. You Locked On Browns post-game show. Browns winners 24-13 down in Jacksonville. Jeff Lloyd, Garrett Bush. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including MLB, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Welcome back to the Locked On Browns podcast. Browns, big-time winners today down in Jacksonville, 24-13. Browns were able to get this thing going off in the right foot. Started off a little slow, right? We had to get to the big names, Nick Harris and some of the guys that are in Deshaun Watson, obviously. But let's get to some guys that we kind of picked it up. Now, this guy, I tell you what, I highlighted him. I've been talking about him a lot. Jerome Ford, one of the reasons that the Cleveland Browns have one of the best backfields. D'Ernest Johnson put the ball on the ground early, and guess what? Here comes Jerome Ford into the game. Big time breakout. And one of the things that we talked about was you could see the speed, you could see the burst. In the league, you don't just bounce to outside. Ain't nobody about to let you just bounce around, Jeff. Like you get the ball, you put your foot in the ground and you get north and south. One thing, I wouldn't make a habit of it, but he looked good doing it. He had the big 41-yard run, got the touchdown, put the Browns on the board. Good job, double team up front, knocked the guy in the end zone, and here you go, Jerome Ford is in the end zone. Another couple nice runs where he comes into a pile, bounces out on the right-hand side, gets down the sideline. The dude, I tell you what, he reminds me a lot of the backs we got here. He reminds me of the sneaky speed of your boy Nick Chubb. He reminds me of how he's kind of unorthodox, in the way he runs a little bit when you look at Kareem Hunt, and he has nice vision. The play he had, it started off on the right hand side, cut it back, and that's the 41-yard run. That's the vision D'Ernest Johnson has, and so you saw all three of those abilities up close and personal on display against Jacksonville, and then you saw the speed and the ability to finish the plays by getting into the end zone. Loved what Jerome Ford was able to do in that game. Also, young guy Isaiah Thomas. Wow, Isaiah Thomas jumped off the screen a little bit. We said we was looking at Perion Winfrey. Isaiah Thomas said, hold on. Locked On Browns podcast. Hold on. Don't forget, I'm out here. I'm in Oklahoma too. You must have forgot about me. I get sacks too in the backfield all game, doing this thing in the backfield, being disruptive. Couple of sacks. Thought he showed himself well, and we didn't get an opportunity to see Jacoby Brissett, but we saw Josh Dobbs. I thought he showed his athleticism. I thought he showed, for all those guys that want Jimmy G and a lot of other people want new quarterbacks in here. I think Josh Dobbs was like, let me show you something. I got a little something on this thing too. Nice touch pass in the end zone. Love the improvisation that he's able to bring to the table. And I thought there was just a few names that started to put some stuff together here to show the Browns got depth in a lot of good places, Jeff.
Well, first things first, with the talks of Jimmy G, Zach Wilson from the Jets may have sustained a pretty serious injury this evening playing for the Jets. Jimmy G, obviously Robert Saleh, obviously LaFleur there with the Jets. If it's a thing where Zach Wilson, and this is a serious injury, and I'm not saying it is, where it could be a serious injury for Zach Wilson, Jimmy G to the New York Jets could be something. I mean, granted, the Browns probably think they have more to play for this year than the New York Jets, maybe so to speak. But it could be interesting that, Browns Jets could be Jimmy G playing the Browns after, the recent news this week. Josh Dobbs, you saw what great athleticism at the quarterback position can do, because there were times where there was nothing going on. And guess what? I'm just going to roll out and I'll see what I can develop from there. And guess what? There were guys leaking. He found receivers leaking, and he hit them, threw for over 100 yards today. The touchdown pass to Jerome Ford, that's a position where, as a defensive back, you're coming forward, understanding he's still behind the line of scrimmage. What do I do? Do I attack the quarterback? Do I drop? Then he runs and literally just lollipop one over. Jerome Ford, 14 touches, over 100 total yards, a touchdown on the ground, a touchdown receiving. I put this out, and, of course, the naysayers, we compare everybody to somebody, But that 41-yard run, what you saw from Jerome Ford was he broke the line of scrimmage, understood there was some congestion, feet kept moving, and guess what? Boom. Eyes to the left. Oh, my God, there is nobody there. When you keep your feet moving and you're active, that's what leads to good runs. That's what Nick Chubb does. Guess what? Wide open left side of the field. Next thing you know, 41 yards down the field. Big turnabout, and changed the entire momentum for this Cleveland Browns team today. Led to a touchdown, and the Browns defense, to credit there. This game could have been 20-0 at that point, but you held them to 2 field goals. The Jaguars gambled, got the touchdown that made it 13-0. But this team still rallied. And look, even though it's a preseason game, even though some of your best players aren't playing, guys want to play to win. Guys want to see something that's going to light the fire for everybody else. That drive between Josh Dobbs, Jerome Ford, lit the fire. This team got it going from there. We were going to save Isaiah Thomas to the third segment, but Garrett was really excited.
I got excited. He was a defensive end. Us defensive ends get excited when we see a guy moving around. I was like, I got to talk about him. I got to talk about him right now.
See, and the thing with this, though, and Garrett, and we had talked about this, there's a scenario where even though Alex Wright was drafted 4 rounds higher than Isaiah Thomas, you saw what the Browns liked in Isaiah Thomas. That first run stop in the backfield, discipline. You saw where it didn't work for Alex Wright earlier, where Trevor Lawrence went around him, got an 11-yard gain. Isaiah Thomas, no. I'm going to read this and make sure I know where the ball is. Guess what? Did that, stopped it. Then got 2 sacks later on. Very, very impressive from his part. This team, and this team, to be successful, it's going to be built on depth. And I put this out here right before the game started. And this rookie class, and evaluating this rookie class, look, nobody's starting other than Cade York. We understand that. But the point is there's going to come a time where their number is going to be called. Are you going to be ready to go? Are you going to be able to contribute? And you kind of saw that from Isaiah Thomas today. Smart, disciplined player, maybe not the elite of elitist of athletes, but he was able to play in his own comfort zone and say, I know what's coming. Here's my role, and I make a play, 2 sacks, tackle for loss. That's a heck of an NFL debut. Jerome Ford, that is a heck of an NFL debut. That's the way you do it. And I'm going to be honest, Garrett, and we're going to get to this here in the third segment, maybe the most impressive of these debuts we didn't even talk about yet. Young man at the cornerback position. Browns ultimately win tonight, 24-13. And we talked about this on the pregame show. This team needed a feel-good moment. And for all of this locker room, understanding that Deshaun Watson is not going to be a part of it for however long, we don't know. Everybody needed to understand this is a good team. Regardless of when Deshaun Watson joins them, this is a good roster. This team has players. Is it going to have to be tweaked? Maybe at the wide receiver position? Certainly. Maybe now at the center position? Obviously. But the Browns are in the position to do this. And those are certainly some takeaways from here. We're going to get into it a little bit further. Obviously, young undrafted free agent out of Michigan wide receiver had a nice showing today. And we are going to get all up about Mr. MJ Emerson because I'm going to be honest with you. It's very rare you see a cornerback moss a wide receiver, but that is exactly what MJ Emerson did tonight. Your latest Locked On Browns, your post-game show, Garrett Bush, Jeff Lloyd. We continue to roll on. As always, we appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every day, whether it's your favorite podcast platform. Make sure you're following, subscribed. And, of course, now on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Notifications on. You get Garrett and I babbling up in your ear all the time. I appreciate everybody. Obviously, ball is here. We told you this is when the show was going to pick up, and we ain't going to lie to you in any way whatsoever.
I tell you what, man. I'm gonna say this, man. Put in the comment section who you thought had the best game, man. We want to know after every game who you felt was the player of the game on offense, player of the game on defense. I think this is going to be kind of easy. We kind of gave you all the names, but we want to see what you think. Go ahead and put that down in the comment section. Make sure you hit that notification bell and definitely subscribe to the channel so you never miss any of the Browns content that we're putting out there. And thanks for making us your first listener today. Jeff, I'll tell you what, this guy, man, the Browns, when you look at the secondary, the scary thing about this is, I saw the Browns lock up a little bit, lock down on people. There was no John Johnson III down there. There was no Newsome. There was no Denzel Ward. There was none of those guys. But two players that I thought really showed themselves up. First one, I thought A.J. Green came up on a nice hit. Nice hit. That's your corner out there having some leverage. That you need that to have. Corners are in the run fit too. They got a gap to make sure that they secure too. Came up on a nice hit, put a shoulder in there, got out the way. I thought he did a really good job. But the play of the game came from one MJ Emerson out of Mississippi State. He's out there looking long, he's tall, he's big, and he just came. You said it earlier. He came up and was like, no. Hey, hold on. You look like you fumbling that ball a little bit. Give me that. You're like a little kid. You took a little kid's lollipop like in the old Bugs Bunny cartoon. Give me that. You act like you didn't want that real quick. Not only did he take it from that man, he took it up over his head. Let me get that. You look like you don't know what to do with it. Turned around and then went to the house with it. See, that's what I like. I like people, like our coach say, hey, it ain't good enough you got the turnover. We trying to score. It ain't good enough. That's the mentality the Cleveland Browns going to have this year. It ain't good enough if you get a strip sack. It ain't good enough if you get a pick. If the ball, we scoop it and score them. We get to that near sideline and we move it. Made a couple plays, got down the field, scored a touchdown. And that is what I love to see because you know what? Those type of plays are indicative of defenses. Those type of plays are indicative of defenses that have an attitude, that have a mentality, that are going to say, no, we're not doing that. We looking to score. We looking to get turnovers. We looking to get takeaways, and that kind of stuff, that momentum builds. It's almost like I say it's a bullpen. It's like a bullpen in baseball, right? Your bullpen starts to move, and all of a sudden, you're like, man, this bullpen is lights out. You get to the sixth inning, it's a wrap. You might as well go ahead and put this game on ice. They got the setup, man. Next thing you know, the closer's coming in. They got Mariano Rivera coming in, and you know what that's looking like. You know what? Yeah, that's 1, 2, 3. So that's the type of energy that is infectious, and that's what we need in the secondary. And to get that from one of your rookies to set the tone of the season, that's huge, man. That is huge, 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 huge. And he just letting people know, hey, listen, hey, I know AJ Green was doing this thing, but I'm here too. You know what I'm saying? I deserve to be talked about over here too. Let me put my name in the lights, put my name on the family, my family's name in the streets. And guess what, man? He showed up and showed out. And I'll tell you what, for me, he got to play the game. He's a player of the game on defense for me, and a player of the game for me on offense. We just talked about it, my man Jerome Ford, but he definitely has a player of the game. MJ Emerson.
Garrett, there's not even like enough superlatives about it. Like, I mean, he had coverage early, had a big stick, and this is one thing we talked about with MJ Emerson, maybe where he differed from the rest of the cornerback room, was his physicality. But a play like this, and the ball was kind of juggling around, and normally you would see this from a veteran on a rookie in a preseason game, like, son, you ain't ready for this life. Martin Emerson literally ripped it away, and not only that, stiff arm. First guy there, stiff arms him. And then guess what? There's the quarterback. Guess what? I'm going to cross you. And then guess what? I'm over here on the numbers on the left side of the field. I'm taking this diagonally to the other pylon. And guess what? Try and catch my long strides. And he kind of he didn't go into it, but he had that Deion long stride to him.
Jeff, when your hands get to swinging like this, you're trying to go into it a little bit.
Yep. No, but he knew it. He was like, I think the kid's first thought was, man, this was too easy. Like, really? Like, this was almost too easy. And for everything he did, I mean, because that ball batted around 3-4 times. He rips it away. Stiff arm, juke to quarterback, go diagonally across, take it to the house. And the Browns sidelines, I mean, literally, it was like you lit off the big old fat pack of 4th of July fireworks. Because it just, exactly. Everybody came running over. And like, if there was a player on that sidelines who wasn't sure who Martin Emerson was, guess what? They knew who Martin Emerson was. All of a sudden, you got our buddy Aditi over there like, yo, hey, can we get a second with you? And Aditi, we love you to death, but girlfriend, can you put on some heels? Because it looks like you're about 4'10" interviewing these guys. We got to get Aditi a little bit taller talking to these guys.
You're going to get me in trouble. She's going to come on the ultimate. Now, Garrett, I heard you were saying, listen, Aditi, I didn't say that. That was Jeff. He said you needed to get up on that little ladder thing. I had nothing to do with it. Nothing.
But look, we all love her. She was fantastic today. And it is so great that she is, so intricate now with this team the way it is. But that was outstanding. One of the things, for Garrett, obviously, Jerome Ford was a player he talked about in the pregame show. For me, one of my keys was the rookies. Jerome Ford, box checked. Isaiah Thomas, box checked. Obviously, Martin Emerson, box checked. Two names I do want to bring up here, though. D'Anthony Bell, 25-year-old rookie out of North Florida. First things first, he going to hit you like you stole something from his mama. But the other thing, he is smart enough in the little end around, knocking the ball loose. And that is, look, I mean, it's very rare when you say, a rookie veteran, well, 25 years old, maybe you're going to play like a veteran. That is such a veteran move. And then we're going to bring up Dalen Baldwin. Now, look, this wide receiver room, we know there's an opportunity here for somebody to step up here. And look, he caught everything that was thrown to him, 6'2", almost 220 pounds. And the one thing Garrett and I have talked about, there's not a lot of size in this room. But I tell you what, you keep catching balls that are thrown to you, guess what? They're going to keep throwing it to you. And that's the way it works. So this was some impressive things today. And for this team to walk out of here 24-13, Cade York, it doesn't matter, where the kids came from. The point is, kickoffs were good. Everything was perfect. You just keep this ball rolling. This was a very, very good day and a much, much needed day for the Cleveland Browns because everybody in that room needs to understand, coaches included, that this team is not just about Deshaun Watson. This roster is really good. There's some really, really good players. And what you saw, even when this defense gave up some plays, this defense is fast. And we're talking second string, third string. These boys can get around the field, sideline to sideline. They move. This team is good. And, if anybody had their, aspirations of this team dulled, don't be that way. Because even if they get Baker Mayfield-esque quarterback play from last year, they should still be better record-wise than they were last year. This team is good. This team is athletic. This team has got players. And for me, granted, it's going to be 2 more weeks. My thing is, how in the world are they even going to get to a 53-man roster? Because there's going to be some heartbreaking cuts after what you saw these guys do tonight.
And you ain't seen Jadeveon Clowney, you ain't seen Myles Garrett, you ain't seen none of
Joe Antonio, Amari Cooper, John Johnson III.
All the corners. Listen, this is what we're talking about here. And for once, let's be clear. We talk about this with Alabama all the time. Alabama they might not even have no quarterback. I don't know who their quarterback is from time to time. And you know what they find? They got 5, 6 running backs. Some of them look like the size of D linemen. Some of them look like the size of cornerbacks, but they all good. They got an offensive line. They physical up front. They get after the quarterback. They got a secondary that ball hawks, and they take the ball away from you. And it just looked like they fight you in the phone booth. By the third quarter, you're tired. You're beat up. Your jerseys is all messed up. And they're like, oh, my goodness. They got the plainest uniforms in the country, and they still beat the brakes off of us. That's the Cleveland Browns. The plainest. We might get a little logo in the middle of the field, but the uniforms ain't changing. That's what we planning on doing. That's what the blueprint is, and you still didn't see all those monsters. And Game of Thrones is coming back out, and you got the House of Dragons. That's the new name for the backs. House of Dragons back there. You got all the dragons and all the 7 kingdoms, and I'll tell you what, we just gonna run them different ways. Here you go. Here you go. You get a carry, you get a touch, you get a screen pass, and that's a way the Cleveland Browns can win.
And, even heard Joe Thomas talk about it. And, and look, Joe will be as much as Joe bleeds Cleveland Brown orange, he'll tell you like it is. Like, he understands how deep this secondary is. And when guys like Martin Emerson in the first taste of NFL football are doing what they're doing, he ain't BSing it. He's telling you like it is. And, LeCount, obviously, big fumble recovered today. Ronnie Harrison, John Johnson III didn't play. Grant Telpa, we all know the aspirations we have for this player. This was a big, big, important night for the Browns. They needed a feel-good moment. This team has taken a lot of smacks to the back of the head for the past 6 months for this acquisition of Deshaun Watson. But the move for Deshaun Watson should not discount for the rest of the roster building that has been done by Andrew Berry. This roster is good. It is talented. It is smart. It is athletic. And most of it has come from big-time college football. So it's not a shock that you think, oh, this guy should turn into a decent player in the NFL because he was well tested in college. This team is ready to play. There is no question about that. Browns win 24-13 in Jacksonville. And yes, Trevor Lawrence started this game. Travis Etienne started this game. So the Browns saw some, basically brand names in this game. Fun night. Browns certainly needed it. I think all of us as Browns fans, we absolutely needed this night for what we've been through for the last 6 months. He is Garrett Bush, part of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Monday through Friday, 11 to 1 on YouTube. Make sure you're following. Make sure you subscribe. Notifications on. It's a great show. I cannot wait till the crew get down Monday because I think they've had to, basically take a little bit of it on the chin here for a few months. They're going to be able to extrapolate about this team and be excited about this team, and deservedly so. 92.3 The Fan, the barbershop. Garrett is always crushing it over there. Saturday mornings, of course, 9 to 12. Other appearances over there. Make sure you're following at GBush91. Myself, Jeff Lloyd, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Show itself at Locked On Browns. Follow back account. DMs are always open. Whether it is on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you're following, subscribe to the show. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen. YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. Of course, notifications on. So whenever we drop it, you guys have it in your ears. Been a fun day. Been a good day. Much, much needed day if you are a Cleveland Browns fan. All that being said, Browns win 24-13. Some really, really great moments for some young kids. Some really, really couple of question marks that we'll see how it plays out in the next couple of days. It's the way it goes in preseason. All that being said, this has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Well, let's go Browns.